Hello, YouTube. My name is Plazukas, and if you wouldn't mind me do an editorial for a couple minutes before I actually start this video, I have my dog here who doesn't want me to do content anymore, and I shouldn't do content. She's old. She's 16 years old, so bear with us. She wanted us to lay down with me and cuddle with me, and her daddy decided that he wants to make more videos. So I have her on my lap here. I don't know how long it'll last, but she doesn't like me talking when I'm on content. She doesn't like my voice, the tone of my voice. She's not a big fan, even though she's licking me right now. But today's video, I wanted to talk just for a little bit before I get to the video itself, because I am so much in awe of what this gacha community has been dealing with for the past couple years, apparently. This whole Atsu thing, and I have no idea. Trust me, I have no idea what this is all about. I do not know what is or isn't true. I do not know what is or isn't facts. I don't know who's right, who's wrong, and if that is even possible. Like, that is not something I'm able to grasp. So I can't speak to that. Um, but what I can speak to is the multi-dimensional aspect of this community. Like, there's so many things going on in this community. And it's actually kind of scary to just sit back and think about. And if I had known this 7 days ago, I probably would have still made the video because I didn't have anybody in mind when I did it. I've been thinking about this thing because I play gotchas all the time, and just in general about supporting games as a hobby, and specifically gotchas. Even though I know they're gambling, and that supporting them is technically looked at as bad. Like, that is just bad, generally speaking. And I don't think that narrative is fair to them because they exist. And although I want them to like slowly die by not supporting them, that isn't happening. Hoyoverse is making more money. Wither and Waves is making more money. A lot of these companies, Nikkei is making more. Goddess of Victory is making more money. Like, these things are just continuing to make money upon money. So, although I'm still advocating for them to slowly die so we can have traditional games back, that's my actual point. I cannot, I just I don't understand it. Like, this whole entire community is extremely. My dog is having quite the issue. I might have to put her down. This whole community is just overwhelming to me. I've already spoken to Gotcha Smack. Like, that is a video I can make. I feel comfortable making because I can speak to workers' rights. I can speak to editing, all those things I am familiar with. But this whole like under the surface stuff with contracts, NDAs, relationships for content creators who cover gotchas and Genshin and Honkai, all the money, all the promotional stuff, like all this stuff is just way too complicated as a whole to think about. And then you have the enigma that is Tectone, who on one end talks about how he is like this black swan of the industry now, where he is able to like reveal all secrets and is now making sure that content creators are getting a fair shake from all these companies, and that he basically calls it the way it is. And if he sees anybody that's saying anything about a banner, that he'll make sure to call them out first. And yet he benefited from that for years, I'm sure. And yet he's benefiting from his narrative now for on Twitch. So it's like almost creating a narrative that basically gives him the best platform at the current state of the game, like the ecosystem that we're currently in. And right now, it's better to be this black swan in the industry than it is to be this goody two shoe or someone that acts like he doesn't do anything wrong, right? And I think he's alluded to that previously on another one of his videos. And so I am just wrapped up in this enigma that is Tectone. And I don't want to make another video, but he did make another video of me. And you know what he said when I told him that, we should just let bygones be bygones after my video ended, because he made a comment. And although I took it as exactly what he is going to say it is, as just to feed into what he perceives my delusion is, I wanted to respect that. I didn't want to, do anything that would consider or be in bad taste, to the extent that I already have to some degree. So I wanted to stop this, but at the same time, I am wrapped up in this enigma that is Tectone. I don't understand it completely, And not that this video is going to help that with any respect, but I think it does at least highlight some things that I have not mentioned, and so it does expand the story a little bit further, maybe for my viewers that have not seen or know Tectone, because I don't know Tectone that well. I can only tell you what I've seen so far. So let's start this video. Thank you for the editorial. I know I'm going to get blamed for being a bad content creator, even though I'm not a content creator, but that's what people call me now. Let's start this video and see.
Hey, these things are predatory as fuck. Don't sign these because you're...
Turn shipping to your advantage with greater affordability.
I hate commercials.
Request on Discord? Okay, I'll add you. Yo, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think you're turned on your camera right now or no?
I was, but it's fine if you don't want it on.
No, it's all good. It's just lagged out. So what's up, man?
Not much. I just wanted to react to your message that you sent on my videos. Are you okay?
Am I okay?
Yeah, because you said I was right.
Yeah.
And I thought that it might have been like you trying to like get me to stop making videos, which I have, which I will. I'm just making sure you're okay.
You want me to tell you the actual purpose of that message?
Sure.
That's me just trying to feed into your delusion, just to...
Right. As a joke. And I'm fine with this. Like this whole back and forth stuff, totally fine with. Because a lot of what I'm saying, although I'm serious about to some extent, I understand that this has to be fun and lighthearted and also the other side of it. It can't just be full bore tilt. There has to be some levity. And although there's a few areas of levity, it still exists.
To be 100%.
Right. I thought so. Right?
Yeah. So I'm curious, what do you think that I've done that's wrong?
Nothing, obviously, right?
Are you sure? Because it makes it sound with the 13 videos you've made of me that I've like committed some atrocity in that time.
Okay, so obviously the exaggeration of the atrocity, it never has implied that. I am basically continued to say my same narrative that I've said previously, which was that people that are making a living on gachas, who advertise themselves as free to play, should spend money on the game. That is my basic principled philosophy position. And when he asked me what do I think is wrong, like nothing. I don't have any perception of Tectone as a person. Like I don't. I'm learning more about Tectone as I go along. This is the enigma of Tectone. I do not know Tectone. I will never know Tectone, and Tectone will never know me, most likely. So we never know each other personally. But the little things I am learning about Tectone in the gacha area, I am curious about, I guess, to say the least. But as a whole, I'm not anybody that I talk about on any channel. I'm not, like, as a personal side, like, I'm not, like, worried about them as a person. You know, whether that is, you know, I can't do that. That's, like, minority report level, like, stuff. Like it's to essentially accuse somebody before they even commit an act. Like I can't do that. I can't do that.
Lying. I mean 100%. So in case you don't know, I am in charge of 5 different companies. If you want to ask me any contract related question, I don't give a fuck. I'm blacklisted by so many other companies. It's ridiculous. I don't hide shit from anybody. So if you want to know anything about me, my life's an open book. So you can quiz me. You can ask me anything you want.
No, I don't want to ask you anything. I just want to state that the only thing I would want you to do, if you ask me what my problem is to go into the store, go to the 99-cent pack, buy the 60 gems, get the bonus 60 gems. This is what I mentioned on my 3-part series that is going to come out. The last part will come out today. And then I won't do any more videos on you specifically because I think at some point, honestly, it'll be too much, right? Even though we're having fun, back and forth, and I think it's been a great time. And
I hope you never stop. I want to make that clear. I hope you never stop. Okay. I think it's funny as fuck. Right.
And this is the permission for me to continue to essentially make these videos, right? And I might. Because ultimately, I do have things that I want to say. And maybe they do apply to Tectone, and maybe they don't apply to Tectone. I'll have to obviously do that on an individual basis, and I don't know what that means. It won't mean this topic, the topic that we've been talking about, and I'm not going to make this video about that topic other than just restating it for the context. that we need to have for this video, but we'll see. I mean, I'm not opposed to it now that he's willing to participate further. And like, that's anybody. Any content creator that has a problem with my videos, please contact me. If you can't contact me, I have my business credentials in my YouTube. I promise you, I will, and you can use this in court. I will not use it I won't use it in a nefarious way or an unprofessional way. If you contact me directly, I will cease and desist if you so choose. Now, that also implies that you're not going to, continue to reciprocate on your end regarding me. We can stop there. I'll leave a note to my audience, and that'll be it. Like, obviously, I'll say something just to end it, but I'm not going to use any personal information. I'm not going to imply to the extent that it would give anything away. But yeah, that's for anybody. I'm not here to go overboard. But if you are public and making videos, if you are a content creator in a public facing business that has influence over a lot of people, yeah, I will say something. Because I think that's more than just, somebody that's locally doing something, even though those people are potentially, should be called out as well. But this is a different thing as well, And not to mention, and most importantly, it's video games, which is something I love and cover.
Right? You don't gotta worry, because motherfuckers be making videos on me every day for the past 5-6 years of the craziest shit. But this one's wild. Like, obviously, this one's a little bit more tame.
These commercials are out of hand.
Right? I mean, I've had people come after me for some crazy shit.
I want to make it very clear. There's plenty of ammo that I have that I can make videos on you specifically that would be entertaining, that I believe in, that I think are worthwhile. But I wanted to make a point to say, okay, we can just leave this as is if that needs to be, if there's some issues with mental health or if I'm being overly aggressive. I didn't want to come off as being too crazy. Like, I want to be crazy because I know my take is very, very niche, but I do believe it. I'm a video gamer. I've been playing video games since I was 5 years old. I take this genre very seriously, more seriously than most people. So the crazy moniker that you have of me, fine. I'll embrace it. I'll take it.
Wait, so you've been playing video games since you were 5. How old are you now?
I am 42.
Okay. Oh, that's great. Well, so the other video, you made a video saying that, like, asthma.
Yeah, so I wanted, obviously, there was some leading questions there. And I'm okay with having the crazy moniker. Like, if that's the persona that I'm going to get, and trust me, it's full blown. It's grandpa dimension level, like, persona right now, which I'm not a fan of. But again, whatever. If you want to consider me a crazy person for talking about these issues, I think that's a bit of a deflection. I think that's something that is a tactic that's being used by content creators to try to invalidate my point. I acknowledge that. But at the same time, I'm willing to play the game to a certain aspect. It's almost like a comedian willing to go up and stand up and talk about a joke and talk about real issues. Almost at that level. And I may not do it effectively because I'm not a comedian and I'm not somebody that's potentially able to do all that 100% of the time. So bear with me as I continue to try to evolve this. But if I'm able to then act crazy but talk about issues that I'm serious about, fine. I'll take that moniker all day, twice on Sunday.
Gold's like a crazy gamer and that, like, he's like a real gamer and me and MTash are fake gamers. Do you believe that?
Yeah, so I try to kind of like balance it a little bit and say that I do think that you both are gamers, you and MTash are. I do think that, and it's kind of coincidental that you mentioned this on stream, and I think everybody does that watch Asmongold. I don't watch him anymore just because I couldn't continue to, but his house is obviously a disaster, and there's probably a lot of health risks going on there. And you actually messaging him now, no, this is not me, my persona or anything. That's like legit, like cool, because he is a gamer. And many gamers do succumb to this. Like, we all have a past with video games where we become addicted, where we become too much. This is my whole take on this, Tectone, is that gacha gamers are addictive. And right. So, and I'm going to finish this point. That the persona of free-to-play can be very, very toxic to certain people. And that's why I think it's important for people who cover gacha, specifically, to spend something, anything, to show...
So do you know why?
So this was the point I made about Asmongold being more of a gamer than MTash or someone like Tectone. And it's not a fair comparison, and I already said that in one of my videos, so I'm not going to reiterate it too much here. But essentially, you know, I believe there's levels here. Just like I believe there's levels in military service. If you are somebody that saw combat, I consider you someone that is of the highest distinguishment. Obviously, if you get killed in action, that's the highest. If you're somebody that served in combat, that's the second highest. You don't know this about a person, but if you know, or if you're in the military, you can distinguish that. I'm a gamer. I can distinguish the levels of gamers that I perceive. That's my perception, my opinion. Fair to criticize me for that. I get that. But I just don't think Tectone and MTash are at that level. Nor do I think it's healthy that Asmongold and potentially myself is at the other level, because that level is addictive. That level is destructive. That level creates obstacles that should not be there, that would otherwise make you more productive, even though technically Asmongold is super fucking successful. And that's a byproduct of his fucking habits all those years. It finally paid off for him. And that's excellent. And I'm proud of him. And I want his life to be better. And I want him to have a great fucking life, you know, because I've watched Asmongold, and regardless of, I don't know him personally, so I'm just speaking out of the bottom of my heart, you know, I want the best for him.
I don't spend on gacha.
Yes, I get it. We've gone. This was a gotcha question here, guys. Okay, he got me here. I didn't know the rest of this fucking story. Back and forth here. I've got all the reactions to your reactions. Like,
No, so why do you think I don't spend?
Because you want to showcase that you can do this kind of game without having to spend any money. And I think that is great. Don't get me wrong. But unfortunately, for how many other people you bring in because of that, there's going to be people who spend regardless.
Right.
And
So here's the
like
thing.
your problem.
So the reason why I don't spend money on gacha games is because 7 years ago I went homeless because of gacha games.
Okay. And this is the point, and this is why I want to make this video. There are things I don't know about Tectone, clearly. And when somebody confronts me with an addiction and a trauma, it's a bit difficult for me because I don't want to use that. I don't want to exploit that at all, period. I just don't. And I feel bad for Tectone. And that's not just to say Tectone, that's anybody, okay? And this is not me trying to fucking make a point because of his past. It's not. But I do feel bad. And yet I think he is successful in spite of his addictions, in spite of his trauma, in spite of his past. And I don't want him to succumb to that, right? So if I had to, you know, compromise, and not even compromise at this fucking point, if I had to capitulate, and I know how addiction works, okay? I'm a former smoker of fucking forever, okay? I smoked the majority of my life, from 12 all the way to 35 years old, all right? I also had a gambling addiction. I've had addictions. I have multiple addictions. And I know how those manifest. And I know how hard they are to actually cope with and deal with on a daily basis. So to know that someone's having to play a gacha game that is also part of his that's also part of his history, is part of like a tendency for him to potentially be more enticed as an addict, then I would say that I don't want Tectone specifically to spend on anything. And I think maybe I should push back, I should backpedal my message a little bit. In this case, my recommendation for someone like Tectone is not to play the game at all. I think it gives a bad impression, even worse than what I had already mentioned previously. And I don't want to say that. Like, I'd rather it not be the case, but he is still a gacha streamer. It's not like after Withering Wipes he's going to go to something else. He's going to go to Honkai. He's going to go to Zenless Zone Zero. This is going to continue to happen. This is who he is. This is what his popularity has become. He's a reactor too. He reacts just like Asmongold, just like all the rest of the successful streamers. He does it all. I'm not denying that, and I think he does variety gaming as well. You know, but at the same time, like, when you put someone like me in a position like that, it's very difficult for me to have a comeback, and I don't have a comeback per se. Other than the fact that, you know, I feel sorry, not just for him, but every person that's been affected by an addiction and that has had issues in the past with gacha games. I know I have had issues in the past with many things, including gacha and, smoking and, gambling and all these things, like all these things. So in that sense, I do feel like my argument is null and void. But at the same time, I have to allow my seeing eyes, to also identify that there's an issue here with someone like that playing a gacha game as well. That is on, content. And even though they are the, image of sanctity in this space, in his own words, I find that a little oxymoronic. I find that a little paradoxical, and I do find that I do find that as an enigma, a very curious obsession. Okay.
So I don't spend anymore because I have an addiction. And
Yeah, and listen, yeah.
so I disclaim that on every one of my videos.
I don't know that he did that. Like, I don't watch every one of his videos. I'm not one of his people that stay on his videos for that long. I guess you could be critical of me to say, well, if I'm not a fan, how can you speak to anything? Well, I wasn't speaking to that specifically. I had my specific point that I was trying to make, and that was it. And then we had other people react to it, and then I reacted to them. That's how this all progressed, not knowing anything else about that. And that wasn't mentioned during the first reaction. That wasn't mentioned until just now. I've never known that about Tectone until now.
I say, do not spend. I'm showing you guys to not do what I've done, to not
He has said that, but he didn't say about the gambling part of it before.
destroy my
Or
life.
the addiction part of it before.
So I play free to play so other people don't ruin their lives.
Yeah, it's a good story. I totally understand, and I can resonate with that. As someone who has also been addicted, did not lose my house or anything. I have not become bankrupt because of it. But I do know there's streamers that do actually play gacha and pay on.
Say your worst fears were realized. What is the worst thing that could happen?
Stream do tend to spend too much, and they have to keep up with appearances. So I acknowledge that as well. And I'm not sure there's a happy medium for anybody. And I appreciate, or I acknowledge that you're doing this hobby that could detrimentally affect you because you might have a problem, as most people who are addicted do. And I think that makes my point even more clear. Like, I won't do any more videos, Tectone, not because I don't think I think I've made my point. You've obviously made your point, and now you've further elaborated that you have this past as well that makes your journey even more purposeful. And this is not me like giving you any accolades or capitulating, but I'm acknowledging your past, and I appreciate you confiding that in me. And I think,
Well, it's public knowledge. Everybody knows that shit. Like that same person that
no, not everybody does know that, Tectone. I didn't know that until you got me on this video.
that girl I brought on stream, that's just my roommate, bro. That's my roommate. She's
Okay, this is a part where I wasn't going to respond to this because I already reacted to it before this. And it wasn't worth mentioning on here when I already made, remarks to it after.
the cosplayer. She was already cosplaying that shit because she was gonna post a son of it on her OnlyFans, and she
Yeah.
asked if she can come on my stream. That's she does that like all the time. Like I didn't ask her to do shit.
Well, and I when my reaction, because your video posted late on YouTube, I was waiting for it, but I just went to Twitch and did the reaction from that. I've already commented on all that. So anything that you need clarification on that, I'm not gonna have to go through this on this chat to say it. I've said my piece on there. I still think that that's still relevant. I'm still gonna hold my position, but I acknowledge the fact that, and you know this because you've had this past as well, that these games can be addictive. And I just think that spending something, although it's not ideal, and just being as transparent as you can be, and apparently you are. And I don't know you from Adam, Tectone. You reacted to my video. X-Juice reacted, or Hex Juice reacted first. Like, that's how I've come to know each one of you so far. I've known Asmongold previously.
You made a video. You made a video on me. Then I reacted to your video. I had no idea who you were before you made a video on me.
Absolutely not. 100%. He is going to imply that I made the video of content creators our welfare if they don't spend and they're like boycottic, but that that did not have any implications towards Tectone, towards Hex Juice, towards Gacha Smack, towards that's not true. It did have implications to somebody. I can't say the name. But I've already named some of the people that it has eventually led to. Tectone was one of them. Once I learned more about Tectone, I did apply him into that category. And that's after he reacted to me, but not before. What's that?
You want me to pull it up? Because how would I have known who
I
you are?
did not make a video. You made a video on my welfare video that you reacted to, and that's when I reacted to you.
Well, hold on. What's your name? Plazookas. Free-to-play Wuthering Waves content creators are not your friends and are more
Hello,
like
YouTube.
Bobby Keaton. Bobby Kotick.
Yeah, but that wasn't specifically, there was no mention of you in that video. It was just a generalized statement.
So who was it on?
It was on anybody.
Like who?
It was literally there to catch the. They thought I was, because listen, this whole goes back to the enigma, or just the overall fucking like history of gacha content creators. Like, I did not know that there was so much history between content creators, like in this space, and I think, and it's reasonable for him to assume that I had somebody in mind, but I didn't have anybody in mind in that video. I can assure you, there was nobody specifically in mind. I had like inferences, and I can't say the name, but it wasn't Tectone. It was not Tectone. Because I'm not going to do that here. It's not important to say that. But I've already named names now after the fact. So that's out there. But Tectone was not part of this at all. Like, believe me or don't care. I'm telling you what my thought process during that time. Tectone was not involved. Algorithm to see if anybody would grab it.
Well, so then who are you referring to?
Eventually, once I figured out who you were, I used you, I name dropped you, and I name dropped MTash, yes, in that particular instance. And I still stand by that, because you yourself have identified, and I'm not going to exploit your trauma or your addiction. Like, that's not for me to do. Like, I wouldn't do that regardless. But regardless of that, yes, I named you as that once I've started to watch you a little bit more, and then I obviously saw what you did for my reaction. This is how bad this is to watch, and I was like, okay, I can inform a little bit more, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah, so when you make a video called free-to-play content creators are lying to you, and I am the most relevant free-to-play content creator, I mean, and you only know 2 of them, you were obviously referencing me, or at least you
I was not. No, honestly, sincerely. You can spin this however you want.
Okay, well then let me spin something for you then. So you want me to do a...
He changes the subject a lot, by the way. We never stayed on topic because he didn't expect me to have the answers that I did, ultimately.
First-time purchase in a gacha game. That's what...
He went back to this again. And I told him I didn't want to do it on stream because I don't want that to feel like he has to. Other than that's my point that I've been making, yes.
You want me to go to the battle pass and you want me to buy it?
Well, no, I don't need you to do that now.
But you did ask me that about 5 minutes ago.
Yes, of course, sure.
Okay, so let me tell you why that's a horrible idea.
Right, and I doubled down. I never backtracked here, YouTube. I stayed firm in my positions. Sure, go ahead.
Why do you think when you play gacha games, they make the first-time purchases, the first big bundles, so enticing? The 99-cent deals to get you crazy value in every gacha game you play. Cookie Run Kingdom, Epic 7, Summoner's War, all of them. They all do this. They just want you to spend one time.
But okay, so when you talked about this previously, when you reacted to my video, you said if you're asking me not to play gacha because, an interesting observation is Tectone is actually in a different position than he usually is when talking to me. He's more engaged now than he was previously. I'm just making an observation. All I'm saying for all you thinking that I'm crazy, Tectone's actually listening to me right now. Because it's evil. I'm not going to do that. We all know that gacha is evil. That's a fucking fact.
Yep.
So I could say, well, why in the fuck are you playing this game anyway, Tectone, if you know that it's bad for your community? Just stop playing it in general. But if you are going to play it, my argument is that you should spend something so that you don't give the impression that these games are all fucking just fairy tale land free to play, because they're not, because these games don't exist. And I wish that the community wouldn't spend money. So and this is my point further. These games would die. We'd go back to the nostalgic traditional games that we had in the past that were hardcore, that were difficult, that weren't just fucking accessible to everybody, that were just cookie cutter experiences. and I have to go to gacha to experience these, where they have this trap that exists for microtransactions. So I acknowledge that, but I'm not gonna sit here and have this back and forth with you. I know my position is right in the statements that I made, even though you consider it insane. Your audience is obviously saying I'm based as fuck, which is that is a millennial term or a fucking generation something term I don't understand.
Oh, they're not calling you based. I just want to make that
Okay.
clear. They're not calling you that.
I don't understand. I acknowledge that. I didn't think I acknowledged that in the video, but I didn't. I looked it up after, and obviously, I think they were saying based on him because it actually is a compliment, I guess. And he's suggesting that they would never compliment me. All right. But that's where I'm getting at. So as far as I'm concerned, if you really want me to make content, I'm humanizing, unfortunately, more now than ever. I did humanize this, and I have humanized Tectone. But there's still an enigma of Tectone that I don't know exactly. And I don't think this hurts the conversation. I don't think this, makes it worse. I think it expands upon my previous topics, and it does humanize it a little bit more. I think that's good. And I think the conversations we had is good. And yes, obviously people in his community can watch this, but people in my community have not yet. So I think this is irrelevant. Although it's going to be super fucking long. To me, so I'll have a harder time making content now that I've actually talked to you in person and I know your past. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be upfront with you. I don't know what he's doing with his lips there. Like doing this. I don't know if that's a sign of him enjoying this conversation. I think he's getting something out of me. I'm trying to read him as a person. I haven't got there yet. Probably my last video regarding you specifically.
So I'm also curious about, do you think I'm working with the company and they're rigging my rates to make it seem more?
Yeah. So I think the chat's feeding him this too to make sure he says the right thing. And now they say I'm backtracking. So I mentioned that. Oh, this is a very good point. I can speak to this. Yeah.
Sure.
I did when I reacted to your last video and you reacted to my video. I do think that your companies, the ones that you are, you agreed upon, like OTK, Mushroom. Forgive me if not. Mythic Talent.
It's all good.
I think they may take some kind of funding. Like, I'm not sure. Listen, I'm not here for you to divulge. And
I want you to ask me anything. I will answer you any question you want.
I know you will. I get that. I sense that you might, but that's not the point, right? But I think that they may get funding from those people as well. Like, you do acknowledge that content creators are probably more attractive to these investors than celebrities right now. Do you realize that?
Sure. Give me your logic for that. Let's hear it.
Well, they are able to now do what celebrities did in the past, which was essentially come into your home, act like this friend, and then they can sell products that way. So, obviously you're just one specific person in the gacha game. There's other people in other different genres. There's people on social media, all considered technically content creators, although you could social media influencers, all those people kind of all incorporated the same thing. They have so much brand power to sell products that would not normally be sold. And they're doing it effectively. So therefore, investors, even if they can't sell, even if they go fucking bankrupt, this is true. This is the current capitalistic society we live in. There's so much money in NFTs and crypto in the beginning, right? And that was just because of the potential to make money. Content creation is becoming that space. Companies are leveraging content creators left and right. And that's only going to increase as this popularity increases as well. And as more people engage in non-traditional forms of news or entertainment, which is content creation, which is Twitch, and it's why Twitch has locked down on their ads now and done all the things that they've done. It's all a concerted effort because they know how many people they have trapped into the ecosystem. They're going to be even more sought after, and they're going to get bigger contracts. You think that Ninja's contract with Mixer, which was fucking unprecedented at the time, with Microsoft, is big. We obviously saw that with another content creator recently, hundreds of millions of dollars. Like, these contracts are going to get sickeningly big, billions of dollars in some cases for some content creators who are leveraging so much and able to do something that other celebrities, other traditional media was able to do in the past that now non-traditional media is able to do. Just the greedy capability or the chance of them making a bunch of money through these people will invest a lot into companies or people. And because of that, you may not see it legally, and you may not even be able to acknowledge it.
I can
I'm not
acknowledge
saying you
anything.
will.
I can
Right.
acknowledge anything.
The companies that you now sign for, that you work for,
Which are who?
Mythic Talent,
Mythic?
OTK,
Mad Mushroom, OTK.
right? Okay, so now he's using me to leverage his fucking brand, obviously, which is a shady tactic. But as you can tell, I was very nice. I was on his stream. I didn't want to get too controversial. I don't think I even could have at that point, just because of the way the conversation was going, right? So there is some form of reservations you have to have when talking to somebody, from a two-line conversation back and forth. And so my tone is different, clearly, than it is right here in my reaction tone. And that's because I'm in a space where I can think and have a strategy to do so. When you're on the fly like that, it's completely different. You do need to read the room. You do need to understand that you can't just go full in on somebody, because if you do, it's just going to get really stupid really quick. They may have investors that are associated with gacha or Kuro Games,
Oh, they
and all
don't.
this stuff.
They're
See,
not associated with Kuro Games at all.
this is the enigma I have. This is why I'm posting this video as well. This recent leak, I do not know any of these people in this content creation space with Genshin Impact, with Honkai Star Rail, with this blacklist and stuff. This all is very suspicious in my mind. This all indicates there's a lot of backroom deals happening. Okay, a lot of things that are being NDA'd. And yes, you can publicly disclose that you're NDA'd and that you can't speak to this. And he's already spoken to this conveniently, that he can't say some things. What are those things exactly? Will he say NDAs, not say NDAs? Like, all that is kind of clouded in ambiguity, right? On purpose, potentially, conveniently, okay? Maybe, possibly. I'm just saying. I have a hard time believing in him here. I just don't believe that any one of his 5 companies does not have some kind of deals, some kind of contracts. And I know he works with Kuro Games, right? So he's saying he doesn't work with Horrorverse at all. And he may not. He may not work with Horrorverse. But he might work with like gacha companies. And so therefore, even though that one specific example is not technically accurate, there are other examples where he does work with things. And he may not always have to disclose them because of how these business arrangements are arranged legally. You got to understand that. If you are a content creator who does not have like any agency or talent coordinator, or in his case, businesses that you can essentially utilize to do some of your other, contracts and business, and take it off yourself as a person, and now it's a business that is handling all those, yeah, there's a lot you can do in that space, and then still technically be the guy that says, oh yeah, I'm the one that's going to tell you all the truth and stuff like that, while also benefiting in the background and not ever having to disclose these agreements. Now, I can't say that legally. And based on what Tectone said, he said he does not, and what he knows. But I also push back on that case as well. Okay, fair. I don't know that to be true, but if you say that, then I'll take your word. He's in his position. He's in the chair now. He is literally on his 2 feet. Like, he's ready. He knows that he has to engage in me. He knows that I'm not just some dummy, that I'm not just some loony, that I actually am trying to make concise points. He's gauging his audience, his chat, like, this is real. This is the real deal. This is the real deal right here, okay? And you may not think I finessed this well, but I kind of have. I did it, and it wasn't pre-planned. I didn't fucking think about this before. This is just really, and he's a great communicator as well. He really has a decent tone, and I've spoken to a lot of people in my life. He has a decent tone that is very assertive, and just the right amount of aggressive to have the other person kind of back down and not be, as assertive. So I think that's a strategy. It might just be intuitive at this point for him, which is fantastic. It's a great skill to have, because it can definitely benefit him in conversations, no doubt. And it did here in some cases, yes. For it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I would lie about that.
You can lie about a lot of things, and there's a reason why you lie about that, because you have now built yourself as this black swan that does not take any money from anybody, like Hoyoverse. and that you would tell all lies or truths. And so therefore that's why you would lie about it, not to say you are lying about it. I can't speak to your truthfulness or anything. Like, we don't know each other that well. We've been speaking for 20 minutes or 10 minutes, whatever it is. So I can only take this as just a cursory conversation. And as long as your chat's engaged, we can continue to talk. But I don't want to continue any longer, just because I don't want to bore your chat.
No, my chat's having a blast. They're good. They're chilling.
Okay, all right. But as far as I'm concerned, I've had a really good time. This has been a really engaging back and forth in my. I'm going to continue to, and I don't like, none of this is pre-planned, right? Like I said, but I will continue to make it comfortable. That is a tactic that I use constantly, especially when I'm on somebody else's stream or having a conversation with somebody I don't know. I'm going to provide them with a very pleasant person, right? And I am naturally a pleasant person. I'm not my persona online, even though I am that animated. Like I am that serious about the issues a lot of times. My opinion. I know you can be like an edgy streamer and content creator, and I could probably, continue to use, like I obviously used you in a video when you're sleeping on your couch. I thought that was a fun video to make. It just happened out of the blue. And I could continue to make those from now until forever, but I probably won't.
I mean, once again, you can.
Okay, good. So this is another, reaffirmation that I can. And this is why I will post this video most likely.
I enjoy watching them. I've watched every video you've made, man.
That's crazy. I didn't know that he did. They're long videos. And nobody watches them all the way. So if he actually did watch them, that's quite impressive. He might be my biggest fan.
They're
Appreciate
awesome.
that. You know what? And I appreciate that acknowledgement. And for what it's worth, I have now been introduced to you. I like your content as well. Yeah, and I do like content creators. I have watched content creators in the past. It is my preferred method of entertainment in a lot of cases. YouTube, or not so much Twitch anymore, because Twitch's policies are just very bad. YouTube, you can get away with a lot more as far as the ads. They're usually only 5 seconds long. Twitch now forces you into them if you're not subscribed to the channel. So it's better to watch the VODs of them. And then it's just kind of like, it's not a good space anymore, in my opinion, in Twitch. And then all the content creators are making money based on that as well. So it's a difficult thing. Well, so even though this may come as a surprise to your chat because I'm insane or whatever else. And this was me obviously trying to gain favor again, because I needed that. I didn't want to come into a hostile environment. I wanted things to kind of soften up a little bit. It is true that people can get along regardless of their differences. I agree with that. Yeah. So, all right, I'll end this video now, Tectone. Thanks for letting me to talk on this stream.
Sure, but you don't want to ask me anything else? Because we can talk about.
This is him. He wants to keep this conversation going, and that's fine. I had no reason. I had to go somewhere at 1, and this was close to that. It was like 15 minutes before 1 o'clock. But other than that, I could have kept on talking. But I couldn't read the chat clearly. I didn't want to seem like I was being insensitive. And I didn't understand all the lingo and stuff like that was happening. And I wasn't intimidated by it. But at the same time, I didn't want to use or overuse the opportunity, right? I wanted it to seem natural. And I didn't want the conversation to go on longer than it should have either.
Payment for Kuro games. We can talk about anything.
No, I'll let my reactions for my last couple parts of the video stand as it is, and then
But why have
he's asking me now,
like, theories when you can get just like irrefutable fact? Because here's the thing, man.
Well, I can't. Right, I can't. I'm not gonna not release those videos now. Yeah, and I even after the conversation, nothing that was said during this conversation changed any of my reactions. Or my opinions or my facts, in my opinion. Nothing. Only thing that has changed is obviously the information about his addiction. That changes a lot. That changes a lot. I still don't know how to deal with that. I'm still wrestling with that. And unless I see like financial documents to suggest this is true, where you get the funding, I can only take what you say as fact, and I cannot and I'm a pessimist person.
I am.
I don't trust anybody really, right? So I guess that you can call me crazy for that, and schizo or whatever you want to call me. But
I said schizo because somebody in the freaking chat said schizo. Okay, let's be very clear. I latched onto that, and I shouldn't have even looked at the chat. I should have just focused on the conversation. That was me. Not being familiar with 9,000 people in chat.
But at the same time, like, I'm not gonna believe it until I see it, and even if I see it, I might not believe it because I know how this industry works. Like,
That's true. There's a lot of things that can be put in front of you, and although you can be made to believe something, it doesn't automatically make it true. It's unfortunate, man. We're living in an age of misinformation with so much, so many ways to confuse people, to manipulate people. It's kind of scary. And so I hate having this pessimistic attitude, but I live, this is how I live, and it's not ideal. It would be better if I just believed in everybody, but I can't.
like, there's plenty of things that are happening in our world that people are tax evaded, or that there's people working under the table. Like,
Yeah, and I believe that.
there's so many things. I'm gonna make a video on
So are you
what's
tracking that I currently exposed Hoyoverse for
So I think he put this in here to try to get me to make a story on this. And this is the part I'm making the video of. This is the enigma. This is the confusion I have about this this whole world that is the gacha content creator space. Like all these years of Genshin, all these years of Honkai, those are just the big names. There's obviously other examples of all these people having rifts and friendships and stuff that have like friggin' escalated and came back together, and there's just so much I don't know. And I think this was Tectone's way of trying to get me to receive that information and use it, but I don't know how to use it. It's too much information for one person to process. I would need to literally spend days doing investigative journalist to understand it all. And I'm not saying I'm opposed to it, but I can't currently do that now.
like bad contracts and like abusing content creators?
that was news to me when you said you were blacklisted by Hoyoverse. That
Yep.
And he's mentioned this a few times. He's tried to sway the conversation for me to be more favorable. And I am more favorable. But my point still stands. My philosophy is not changing. So I'm conflicted.
Yep.
news to me. I did not know that. So
Yeah, so what had happened is that I spent $12,000 on a weapon banner, and I lost a 50-50 12 times in a row.
Yeah, I did not know. Like, I've never played Genshin. I've only played Honkai. So I only know what Honkai has now, and Honkai's system is pretty good. And apparently, a part of why it's good is because of Tectone. I can't speak to this history, but I'll have to take it as fact.
Right? And so when that happened, that video footage got sent to Billy, and then they complained about how bullshit Genshin X banners was, and then they changed it to having to lose the 50-50 indefinitely, to where now you can only lose the 50-50 twice.
Right, which I know to be true as far as what it is currently. And I know Billy is the app that is predominantly used in China, I do believe. And I know Billy was having an uproar with Wither and Waves initially, and then Wither and Waves, actually, the developers did respond. So I know what is being said most likely is true to some extent.
And so they call me Genshin Jesus on.
I do not like this part, though. This part is so damn... I don't know if it's narcissistic, arrogance. I don't know what exactly we're dealing with here psychologically, but it's something. Oh, right. It's the alpha male in him. I get it now.
On Billy, because I changed the weapon banner.
He wanted me to like say something, and I did, because I don't know what else do you say when somebody says something like that.
I mean, that is
So like I've made a career of exposing bad like companies.
That doesn't mean anything to me. You can leverage whatever benefit, whatever windfall you've ever gotten into something else eventually. You can transform and still make all these other deals on the side and still do something, that's not, fully transparent as well. And I think just the fact that you're not going to spend any money in that now, that this is your moniker now. You cannot, and I get that. I acknowledge that. Like, Tectone's moniker is he will not spend money on any gacha period ever again. Because he is now the guy that doesn't do that. And whoever else is in a network, I don't know who the fuck else is in his network. I thought MTash might change that, but no, MTash is all in. MTash still spends money. I don't know if Gacha Smack spend money. Probably did, right? To some extent. He probably has 2 accounts now. I don't know. You know? Mr. Pokey, is he spending money? Are these all like they're talking to each other, trying to coordinate all this like philosophy of free to play? You know? But if it is his principle to never spend money again, fine. Fine. In that case, I don't think he should be playing gacha games anymore because he has an addiction. And I don't think it's fair to this community. I still believe that. I'm a little bit humanized with Tectone than I was previously from our last conversation. And I acknowledge that he may have had some effort in helping the community and the fact that he has an addiction. But at the same time, Tectone, we need to be really clear. Okay? You know what I'm saying is correct in your community, even though they'll downvote me to oblivion, you know, and deny my logical conclusions. Know it too.
For bad practices.
And that is good. I think in gacha we do need obviously some certainty. The fact that you can pull indefinitely. I've been here since, you know, about 5 to 6 years ago. He still goes on his share like that. I'm telling you, for being somebody that's a nobody, doing pretty good here, guys, girls, thems and days, and all the above. Go with gacha, and I know how bad it used to be. I know how it's been better now with just the. But these fucking commercials are killing me. Amount that you can spend without guarantee. So I appreciate that if that is the case.
Yeah, they also call me T-Dog. That's.
I don't get that, man. This was a double entendre. And I acknowledge, like, in my brain, I received what he was doing here. I couldn't just then turn on him, technically, because I acknowledge this, and this is probably when I said I was going to do a reaction as well. Like, there's a couple points in this video that I decided to do a reaction, because who wants to do that? Like, what is that exactly? What is that? T-Dog. You know? Why? Why even have this moniker? Like, why want this name? Like, obviously you gave me crazy. Like, you're obviously. I said obviously too many times. I said that it's fine me being called crazy. Okay, but at some point I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna self-reference that myself going forward outside of Tectone. Like, I'm not gonna do that. But if Tectone community knows me like that, then sure. And like his community knows him like that as well. I mean, but I don't know him. So does he want me to call him T-Dog going forward? I can't do that. I'm sorry. It's not me. I can't do acronyms like that. It's not something unless that's his actual given name or the one that he wants to go by, then that is. But his Twitch and YouTube videos are Tectone, not T-Dog.
That's my street
But
name,
you're
T-Dog.
still, but no, your stream name is Tectone. But you're still attractive to these companies, regardless of your.
Oh no, I'm not.
Yes, he is to some level. Although in this Hoyoverse specifically, now that I know about all this other stuff and I don't even know about it, the Bloxcaphone and Alto and all these other freaking individuals, apparently he's done so much, or I mean, he's being accused of doing so much to affect these communities that, yeah, I can understand why he's blacklisted and not gonna be involved in these, to the extent that he is personally. But there's other companies. Kuro Games finds him valuable. Other gacha games will find him valuable going forward. So Hoya versus a bad example, obviously.
Yeah, me and Asmon are fun fact. So me and Asmon's a lot less attractive to these companies because the one thing that you don't want to do to these companies is shit talk China. And
I did want to fact check this though. I'm not gonna lie. I did want to fact check one aspect of this with Asmongold. Let me just see. Asmongold, Honkai, VODs. Oh, he doesn't have old VODs. This was in 2023. It's been a while since I watched Asmon, so my recollection could have been wrong. And I might have thought you played it recently. But this all might have transpired also. So it might have been this. This might have been the last time, right? Because the last time I watched Asmon, he was sponsored and he was pulling a lot. And then he might have just done streams outside of that, not being sponsored. So that might have been my confusion and just assumed that he was. Because I was just, I was playing Honkai and I just joined at the time that he was also.
Asmon has shit talked China, and so Asmon will never be sponsored by it.
Yeah, it's true. When you do shit talk China, you're pretty much dead to them. That is a valid point. They do not like people shit talking them. Period. And you just don't have business with China normally. They're very selective with who they decide to have business with, which is that whole fucking thing that's happening right now with this individual that used to work for Hoyoverse getting these people contracts and like buddying and shit. Like, it was weird. It's a whole fucking weird backroom system shit that was happening on the side. Kind of shady, but this is how deals are made in the background. And this is what I was listening to. And then there's all this pushback saying, no. But in reality, it is.
Another mobile game, pretty much ever again.
Did
I
he
myself,
do a Honkai, though?
huh?
He just did a Honkai not too long ago, didn't he?
He might
A
have
Honkai Star Rail?
he might have played Honkai Star Rail, but I don't remember the last time he was sponsored for it. It's been a long time.
Okay, that's what we're getting at. Okay.
Yeah, same thing with me. Like, I'm completely blacklisted by Hoyoverse. I'm even blacklisted to even talk to the creators and the voice actors of that game because I've exposed too much of their bad practices, right? Because, like, the thing is, I think that you have a good idea of going after people. I just think you're going after.
Now, here's the thing. Listen to this, and if you're this far into the video, I've just gone off to Gacha Smack. We'll see if he says the same thing. There's not enough time in a day. I'm going to try to listen to some of their takes before I go to bed. And not to say I'll go to bed because I have a problem sleeping. But anyway, I will try to listen to it to see what he said about Gacha Smack on that video because I know he reacted to it.
After the wrong guy, because everything that you've accused me of, I've essentially exposed other companies and
well, first of all, the only thing I've ever said was the welfare not paying anything for if you're a content creator on a free-to-play game. That's really my foundational principle. Everything else was just kind of an evolution of the conversation.
Creators for doing, right? But you're going after the one guy who's like saying, hey, why don't we be transparent with our audiences? That's why I've gone free to play. I recommend people not to spend. I tell people how predatory these games are every single stream. So I think you just got a little bit unlucky and you went after the wrong dude.
I don't feel that, but I will ask you, who do you think I should go after?
Oh, I'm not going to say. There's tons of people. You can just fucking throw a knife on a wall. It'll stick.
I don't know that that's necessarily true. I don't know enough about the community. I'm learning the community as I go along, so maybe I need to dig deeper as well.
Great ones.
I am going to make a video on Gacha Smack next.
I don't recommend that.
Why?
You don't want to fuck with that guy. I'll be real, man.
I do want. I cannot believe the reception here. I was hesitant, actually, after he said this, and then the chat responded the way they did. And I had a plan to do Gacha Smack, and I did do it. And it's out there. It's posted. I'm waiting and seeing what it looks like before I do part 2. I'm going to be honest with you. Yeah. We'll see what happens, but I know my takes on that video are solid, so that doesn't mean they won't identify me as crazy or worse. We'll see what Gacha Smack, if he does respond, which I think he will, ultimately. I want to fuck with him.
Okay, well then I can't wait. But let me
don't.
tell you, man, like that guy, ooh.
You guys recently met, right? Gacha Smack and
yeah, he's awesome. He's a great dude. Great dude. But yeah, him and me are like generally two people you kind of don't want to fuck with too much. Like you're kind of picking like the worst guys to fuck with, to be honest.
I knew from he was doing the other gentleman. I don't remember. He's from Australia. I think.
Vulcan.
Yeah, Vulcan. I actually got introduced to him through AFK Journey when he did the sponsor stream and stuff like that.
Great.
And then he said he met you. That's the only time I really known your name.
Yeah.
And then Gacha Smack. So
it's also hilarious because these contracts that you think I'm on, I've also actively been telling other creators to not sign these contracts.
This is the whole part. This is that whole extra process that now is actually full blown out there. With him saying that he told people not to sign contracts. He's told people, listen, I could take credit for this, but I don't think I was part of this. I don't think I was the tipping point either. I have no fucking idea how it all came out at the end here, and now that it's all being disclosed and all these people are having this trauma alert shit about it, essentially. But at the same time, like, this has been a whole thing that's been happening underground, essentially. But again, my talking point was very simple. It had nothing to do with all this other shit that was going on. It was my principal position, and you know it already. I've said it many times.
Contract so that way they can be transparent with their audience. Because like there's history.
That's great. But if what we're doing now, instead of taking sponsorship deals from these companies, instead of taking money from these companies, instead of all this other shit that we've done with these companies over the years and benefited from us, but now we're doing basically the same thing by covering these games, but we're just gonna do it more transparently, and then have the money and stuff that we lose because of that come back from the community. Like, neither of those two things are ideal. The ideal aspect of this whole thing is to be transparent throughout the whole entire process. And I think that if you are a free-to-play content creator who makes a living on games like these, you should be spending money. And I compromised. I said 99 cents. I don't mean 99 cents. I mean a battle pass. I mean the normal things that normal people spend money on gacha. And that, I think, makes you less relatable, but I think that makes you more transparent as well.
History of all this on my YouTube. Like, I even showed a company's contract saying, hey, these things are predatory as fuck. Don't sign these because you're not going to be able to be transparent with.
Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. And yeah, that would get you blacklisted because companies don't want their private information disclosed. They would rather control the narrative.
Your audience.
Right. Okay, that's fair. You know what, Tectone? Thank you for this video, or thank you for the chat. I really do appreciate you accepting it and taking the challenge. I'll see you around, my friend.
Sure, no problem. Peace, bro. That guy that was fucking wild. Bro went at me for all the, like, saying I haven't done all the things that I actually have done. That was great.
I did not. That's the thing that I think the narrative is being construed. Obviously, throughout the back and forth conversations that we've had since my initial video, yes, you could probably, you could probably suggest that to some degree, but I'm not, and I never have. It was more like he brought it into the conversation. I reacted to that, not knowing all the other stuff in the past. So I just took what I knew at the time, and yeah, that's my fault to some degree, right? Not knowing his past, but if you have somebody that's a front-facing, free-to-play content creator that's not spending any money and yet receiving sponsorship deals and stuff on the back end, yeah, I don't think that I'm that wrong to make these kind of conclusions that I'm making. It just seems kind of hypocritical of me, or of the person, right? So therefore, my conclusions were pretty logical.
Great. And I think midway through that call, he really realized that he fucked up.
No. This is another reason why I made this fucking video, Tectone. First of all, nothing about that conversation suggests that I fucked up. Just because I was being nice and cordial and I didn't want to say anything, nor would I have ever said anything during a two-way conversation like that. Unless we were just like literally by ourselves and having like an actual conversation, full bar. No, nothing. I know he wanted that on that chat, but I wasn't going to do that because that would have just inflamed the chat more and it would have just been worse for me. So I went in with every intention to be a bit more passive, which I normally am anyway. I've already alluded to this.
And I think he realized how insane he sounds. And
No, I did not.
he was trying to get out of the call.
I was not trying to get out of the call. I just didn't want to take too much. I didn't want to go over. Like I've already alluded to this. I don't want to keep on repeating myself.
Oh man, that's okay, boys. We've created the monster. He'll be our pet project. And every single time he goes to stick his nose where it doesn't belong, I'll be there. That's why I'm gonna react to more of his videos right now, man.
He never did, which is fine.
It's great, dude. That guy's 42. That guy's 40.
Yeah. So what? 42. A compliment. Thank you.
42, and he's so far off his rocker, bro.
I mean, it depends on your priorities in life, you know. I'm someone that loves this hobby, that wants to protect this hobby, and I think Gotchas are a big part of it now, and I need to speak about it. I also think workers' rights is a big problem in this genre, in this ecosystem, and I'm learning that as I go along, and I'll be schooled on that. I'll be educated probably to some degree, and that's fine. But I think it's worth talking about.
Oh, like what the fuck? Like, it's like, you know what he's like? He's like Wimp Lo from Kung Pao. It's like, oh,
I have no idea who that is. Kung Pao, I don't know who that is.
we'll train him as a joke. Like, fuck. Actually insane, bro. I think he made some sense. Okay, about what? He basically said, since your polls are so good, more people are gonna fall prey to this game. All right, so what should I do to fix that? Because here's the thing. That mentality makes sense. What you're saying makes sense, right? However, if I'm telling people to not spend and play free to play, and they see me miss other characters from other games, because if I don't get a character, I just don't get it. It's the same thing with Topaz from Honkai Star Rail. I wanted her so bad, knew I couldn't get her. So I'm attempting to teach people patience and how to skip. That's why my other Honkai Star Rail account, even though I have thousands of dollars I could spend, I refuse to unless a gem god gives me it, right?
Who's a gem god? I don't know who that is. Is that a reference in somebody giving him some stuff? See, there's a lot of this still. There's a lot of uncertainty here. Okay, a lot of things he's saying that I just cannot fully believe him on. But if he's saying that, yeah, you should teach people patience and stuff, I totally agree with that. I think it's a good thing. But I think it's still misleading. I don't think it's practical when you play a gacha game, period. And that's why I think you should spend money, ultimately, because that's more realistic. That's more transparent.
Because other people just cannot do that. I will never just spend on the game. So it's essentially teaching people to not spend. That's why I'm begged to play. Beg somebody else. Beg your mom, beg your dad, beg your friends, fuck them. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't want any gacha to be shown on stream. Yeah, so here.
That is technically true. Obviously, I've already said that gachas are inherently evil, and that, unfortunately, the way they're being positioned, yeah, it makes it even worse because it's misleading, and it actually is more of an inviting ecosystem now, with these content creators being more friendly and more welcoming. So, because it used to be that everybody was a whale, and that wasn't very welcoming at all. But now they become friendly and free to play. Yay, come on in to this predatory environment. So yeah, I guess at the end of the day, sure, gacha shouldn't be on stream. I think that's a fine conclusion to have. I don't believe that from my constitutional perspective because I'm an American. I believe freedom of speech and stuff like that. So therefore, it will be still on. But at the same time, if you're going to do it and you're someone that suffers from addiction, then yeah, I think you should do it more responsibly. By doing that, you should be more transparent by spending money on the game, because that is normal.
Here's the thing. This argument can be used for every argument on the platform. So you can either be anti-entertainment or not.
And this is fine, but I'm specifically talking about video games and gacha, okay? And yes, all games are addictive. All games are a problem to everybody, and they're not relatable to anybody. But there is a cap on their predatory behavior. There's MMOs. And yeah, go ahead.
Because technically, if you want to break this down, every video game you play is bad for you. And let me explain to you how.
Yeah, that's true, 100%.
Right? This is why this take makes no sense, okay? So let's say you have this bar, and this is your life. The dangers of gacha and the spending nature of gacha does not merely exist in the gacha game, okay? Now let me tell you why. Because gacha games are minimal play with a very potential high ceiling of payment, right? So you can pay a lot in these games, but you can barely play them. When you barely play a game, but you can spend a lot on them, that's why this is very popular in China and Japan, this still gives you a lot of time to work to earn that payment. However, for games like MMOs and people who glorify MMOs, what they do is very low payment, right? Very low pay, right? But very high consumption.
That's not necessarily true. There are plenty of new MMOs that are the opposite. Now, they're all like cosmetic purposes, a lot of it, but that has been twisted upside down. A lot of these new live service games do tend to scale the other way, more pay than it is to play. That has been the trend, okay, going forward. So to that comparison, I agree with you. And I would say from a entirely like from the perspective of video games as a rule, yes, but it's like any hobby, okay? The amount of time that you spend in it. Like, and that's why I distinguish between different forms of video gamers or people that I believe are gamers and not gamers. You know, you make a choice every day on how much you want to split that time up. And to me, time is valuable, obviously. And games have always taken time. They've not always taken extra money. That's the difference, in my opinion. So I don't like companies that devalue my time. That's why I don't play Destiny 2 anymore, because it continuously devalued my time over and over again. I have 2,500 hours split between Destiny 2 and Destiny 1, and I just left that community a long time ago. I left World of Warcraft when it started devaluing my time. You know, those were the decisions that I made early on that other people didn't. I don't want that anymore. I want people to value my time. And guess who does value your time to some extent? Because they don't even allow you to put all the time in there, is the gacha games. They do value your time in a lot of ways. They have catch-ups for new players and stuff like that, but it's less than all these other games because they incentivize it through having to pay for it. So I understand the point that's being made, but all video games take time. All hobbies take time. So it's not a perfect comparison, because although time is more valuable than money, most people who are playing video games already spend the time and don't necessarily spend the money. With gachas, it's a lot more of the money than it is the time, and therefore they're more predatory in comparison. Period.
Time. And so the more that people glorify these games, the less they have the opportunity to make the money. So it really is a damned if you do, damned if
Yeah, that's true. I'm not denying that. Video games are an addictive hobby, and you shouldn't be in them if they're not something you're passionate about. Period. And even if you are passionate about, they're destructive, and they make you less productive, which are all bad things. Which is why I've already admitted that I'm addicted to video games, and that'd be a lot more productive if I wasn't. Clearly. And as much as Tectone is trying to be an advocate, so am I. Okay, so we can both come to some agreement in our messaging. Okay, but we disagree on some of the aspects of it.
if you don't. And so if you agree with that take, then that means that all you do is agree that all entertainment is bad. It's the same thing with TV shows, it's the same thing with movies, it's the same thing with video games. Anything that's taking away your ability to be able to make money or be successful, you want to damn, which essentially you're
No. We've never co-opted these forms of entertainment to make money expressly. This is a new form of a career, right? And so my problem with content creators specifically is that they're leveraging now more than ever their position to dilute these experiences in a lot of ways. You know, Destiny 2 got diluted because of content creators in that space. They wanted more seasonal content because of how much there was a gap in between each expansions. A lot of the player base wasn't upset by that. People that loved Destiny 2 was fine with the content loop that they had, with the combat loop that they had. It was the content creators that wanted more stuff to engage their consumers with. So it's these aspects of content creation that I do not like, that dilute the experience, okay? Which is different in gacha games, okay? They can't necessarily do that as effectively in gacha games because everything is protected around a system of monetization. And the companies are not going to be willing to change that monetization because it is their whole entire ecosystem. And if you're able to effectively navigate that, you can benefit from a system in gacha and make your time more valuable by playing these games because of that. But it depends on where you are at in your life. Like some people are not addicted to video games. Some people do not have video games as their hobby, so they don't care about this. And all I'm saying is that that's fine. That's great. But as a content creator who plays video games, I think you need to be transparent and say, yeah, I just do this for money. I don't really care about this game. Because going back to transparency, he makes this point in another video, but essentially being transparent about that, about your motives and your intentions, you know. going forward. I don't care about this game. It's for content. That's all it's for. You know who does that a lot? Asmongold. So I give him credit. I don't like him a lot of. I don't like his tactics a lot of time, but he's fucking transparent as fuck. It's annoying. I know he loves video games, and yet he fucking says it for content. And I have to respect him for that in so many ways. And yet he does support video games still and gachas in a lot of times.
You're doing the 90-year-old grandma take, which is video games are the devil. So
That's not entirely what I'm saying, even though I tend to agree with that. Yeah, video games have become really bad. And I don't think you should play them unless you're passionate and that's your hobby, because how much time they do take and how destructive they can be, regardless of it being gacha or not.
So it doesn't matter however you want to spin it. It's either, do you like video games? Then it's fine. If you don't like entertainment, it's fine. And that's pretty much it. You got to choose your poison, man. Never considered that? I know. All games can be considered poison, but here's the reality, okay? I feel it doesn't matter how much money you make. I don't give a fuck how much time you spent in the real world. The only thing that I want my chat, my community, what the people on Earth should be worried about is how much of their time are they spending doing that thing that they like? How much damage is that thing doing to them? And if it's not too bad, then have fun, enjoy.
Okay, this is a bad take, man. Because anytime, including watching content creators, because you use TV, you use movies, you use video games as an example, Tectone. They watch you for 8 hours, 12 hours when you stream. When you're sitting there laying on your couch for 6 hours, that is not healthy either. And you know this. So even by your own comparison, you are a hypocrite again. And this is why I cannot effectively take you seriously. And to end this video, Tectone is no longer immune to my videos going forward. Now, I know his past. I know he has past addiction to video games. He went bankrupt and was homeless. I know that he is the black swan of the industry, and I will try to verify that, and that a lot of things in this community has changed because of him. These are positives, okay? These are things that I'm going to try to inform my opinion of Tectone as I go forward, and try to use videos and reference that to the extent that I can to make it positive. But at the same time, there's a lot of hypocritical things too. This video is forever long. I don't know if I'll ever post it, but if it is here, my name is Suzuki. If you like this content, like, subscribe. We'll see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.